Welcome to the Short Term Show, the show about short-term rentals and long-term wealth, with real property owners hosting real properties who are crushing it in the vacation and short-term rental space. And here's your host, Avery Carl.
Sell with the Short-Term Shop. Are you looking to sell your short-term rental or even 1031 into a different property? Our team of realtors will work hard to get you the most for your investment. We are experts in our field and would love to earn your business. When it's time to sell, call the shop. TheShortTermShop.com. That's TheShortTermShop.com. Brokered by EXP.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Short Term Show. Today we've got a really cool guest. His name is Jordan Kahana. He started a company called STR that is very cool, a little more on the media side of things than the real estate investing side of things today, which is cool. I love to get off of the real estate investing sometimes and learn about other things still kind of in the real estate world. So anyway, without further ado, Jordan, how's it going?
Having a great day. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So will you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and then
Sure.
About STR?
Yeah, of course. So I've always worked in media and production. My first job was working at ESPN, and I moved over to LA to work for social media for some big companies like NFL, Pepsi, all that kind of stuff. And then over the last 7 years, I have switched to be a full-time content creator. And almost 5 years ago, January will be 5 years of starting STR. I met my business partner. He works in commercial real estate and owns a couple of vacation rental homes himself. Him and I got connected through a mutual friend as I was wanting to be more in the travel space, working with more vacation rentals, hotels, all that good stuff. And we came together and started this marketplace to emphasize on the impact of social media and marketing and being able to personally get to travel more while still allowing others to be able to travel more and experience amazing homes and opportunities along the way.
Awesome. Well, all of that sounds really, really cool. So I've got a lot of questions about that. So let's talk about working with creators in this space. So in lifestyle photos, because I've heard, I don't personally have lifestyle photos in my listings. It's not that I wouldn't, it's just that I haven't done new photos recently. But I hear, some back and forth.
We can talk more about that. I have a lot of questions about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hear some back and forth and some arguments online about, yes, you want to have lifestyle photos in your listings, or no, you don't. Actually, let's back up a little bit. And can you give us a definition for those who might not be familiar with that term, what lifestyle photos in your listings means?
Yeah, absolutely. So lifestyle photos is just having essentially people in the spaces and showcasing just energy or essentially life in your photos of interaction. So if you happen to have a beautiful kitchenette or kitchen table, dining table, outdoor patio, and you just have people living in that space and showcasing that space versus just the general photos of the open space that most people have, as you were explaining from your listings.
Okay, so that's the definition. So why do we want to have, in your opinion, people living in this space in our photos?
So in the day and age that we live in with social media is that we have trained ourselves to be able to see ourselves in those spaces and wanting to replicate those experiences and sharing those moments and those experiences. And that is why lifestyle photos are taking such an advantage. And the example that I always give as well is everyone has a story of booking a hotel that they see online, getting to the hotel room, and the room is a shoebox or a different setup, or there wasn't any way to create context in your mind of how the space was going to lay out once you get there. But when there's lifestyle photos, if you have this comfy chair, or like I said, dining table, people see you can see yourself doing that or wanting to replicate that, and that entices people to book or keep track of your home, of wanting to replicate those experiences.
Okay. So I totally understand though, wanting some context of how big a property is. I personally am terrible about when I order things on Amazon or really anywhere about not looking at the size in context to things and then ordering really, really tiny things. It's like a joke in my house that I always order stuff. I thought I was ordering these like, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Spinal Tap, but it's exactly like that, like the scene in Spinal Tap with the Stonehenge. I'll think I'm ordering like a normal size end table and it comes in and it's like this big. So it's kind of the same thing when you're looking at a space. If you don't have some context for how big something is, you don't know if it's small or if it's huge or anything. So it is nice to have that kind of scale to figure out how big a place is.
Yeah.
So, is there any data that supports or disproves this theory that the lifestyle photos, or I guess let me back up before I ask about data, do we think that this improves bookings and improves the price per night that we're able to get on a property?
Absolutely. I think the better quality, I think just in general, the better quality photos that you have, it improves that. And I'm sure you've done a lot of shows or conversations around that. But what we have seen through the homes that have taken on this strategy and are looking to improve in this space is that people are more inclined to want to book or look through all your photos and keep track of your listings when you have lifestyle photos in your listings.
Okay. And is there anything I've heard some back and forth too about like Airbnb doesn't want people in the listings and that might be a rule, but I've never actually looked that up to see if that is true. But I've heard people argue about that online or read about it.
We have not been flagged on the fact that Airbnb does not want people in listings. Some of our top performing management companies or homeowners constantly use creators and have lifestyle photos in their listings. And it seems to be working pretty lucratively for them. I can't speak to like 100% of what their numbers look like, but I know that they consistently each time, especially certain management companies, every time they get on a new property within the first 2 weeks prior to going live, they have creators from our that they've built relationships with through our platform come out and shoot and create these lifestyle photos.
Okay. Awesome. I have no basis for saying that. I just have read.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that more. You're the first person that I've heard kind of raise that flag that might be an issue. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I keep meaning to look into it, but I see more and more people with them in their listings. So my guess is that may not be true, but definitely something to look into. We'll put it in the show notes, guys.
Yeah. Circle back on that.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say are some best practices for using lifestyle photos? Because obviously you maybe you do. I assume you don't want people in every single photo, maybe just certain spaces that you're really trying to be like, hey, look how cool this is and how much fun you will have in this particular space. But what do you say about that?
Yeah, I think there's an important element to having duality to it, or a mix of photos of both lifestyle and just the actual space and the textures of the home and all of that can kind of bring a little bit life and story to their experience that they're coming into. I think the one thing that you should definitely look at is understanding who is the type of person that is booking out your property, and understanding that, creating that kind of lifestyle shoot to target that kind of audience. And examples that I've used in the past is that we've worked with some homes in Scottsdale, Arizona that are built for bachelorette parties. So we worked with a group of girls to go out there and create a girls trip because that's what the home was for. And then there's other homes that are made for a young family and has a playpen in it, or is just couples, or understanding who is usually booking out the property, or who you're trying to target, and creating that kind of story telling through the lifestyle photos. I think that's really important, that if you want it to be a families and you have a group of girls coming like a bachelor, like it is contradictory to what you're trying to do. So keeping in line and understanding your audience is probably top of the line of best practices I would recommend.
Okay. Are there any no-nos or things that you don't want to do? So I have seen a fail on this, and it was in a real estate listing photo. So I'm a real estate agent, so I see, and I don't think that this person was like trying to, I don't know what she was trying to do, but she took a picture of like, she was laying in the hot tub, or someone was laying in the hot tub with their feet up on the side of the hot tub, and you could see the mountains on the other side.
Okay.
But like, I see where she was trying to go with this, but it was just like feet, and all you could see is feet. And I'm not really a person who thinks that any feet are like pretty, or so when I'm looking through, I'm like, oh, it's feet. It was like, I guess maybe she was too zoomed in on, I don't know, but that would be for me a no. But are there any rules that you kind of have, or best practices for things to not do when it comes to lifestyle photos?
I think, we tried to create a platform and a space to expedite as much of the expense as possible. I think we've talked to a lot of people like that you deal with, and teaching a lot of up and coming vacation rental owners and all that. They're trying to find shortcuts. And so they're like, let me get my group of friends over, and I have a camera and I can do it. And once again, it doesn't tie into who their audience is, or just their friends are not understanding of just how to be a little bit more enjoyable in those spaces. And going back to the example, as well as a friend of ours threw a couple parties, and we're showcasing that and being like, well, we're in the desert and there's space. And then they got outreach by a bunch of people trying to throw parties at their home. So once again, the stories that you're trying to tell and how you show your listings is the people that you're going to attract. I think also going into a situation of working with a creator, a photographer who might have a large social media following, is expecting to get a large chunk of those followers in return. That is not how this necessarily works, unless your home also lends itself to that. But there's a bunch of strategy that goes into it, of having a beautiful profile, as well as the lifestyle photos, or just beautiful photos that when that big audience comes to your pages, then they understand what they are looking at, and to grow that audience and build that way. So thinking that there's going to be overnight success at this stage is just a slower game, and people just need a little bit more patience when it comes to that.
Gotcha. So my next question is, if someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, oh, you know what, this is a good idea, I want to try this, where do they find the people, like the models, to be in? Because there's certain markets that I have properties in that I'm like, man, if I put this ad on Craigslist, I am going to get some weird stuff. So how do you find professionals to do this kind of thing in what can be really small rural markets?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And that's kind of the struggle a little bit. And hopefully with Stayamo, we are doing our best to bridge that gap. And so Stayamo is a marketplace that is set up to connect vacation rentals, boutique hotels with photographers and content creators. And we are getting like hundreds of applications a day. It's not just anyone that is allowed on our site. It is people that we think would benefit the home's exposure one way or another. And so I think so if that's one way, and it's free to use Stayamo from a property standpoint. And there are more premium elements to look into in terms of searching as you tier up. But I think one way of doing it is also searching through social media, is tagging the major city nearby, or city of looking for photographers, and searching through and understanding people that meet your aesthetic that you are looking for. Because yes, you can just get someone randomly looking to jump in and doing that. I think doing the due diligence of having the conversation and building the relationship with the photographers or the creators to understand like the story that you're trying to tell, or what this home means to you, and what you're trying to do beyond just having it be this great nest egg of side income. A lot of times people are building properties and stories and wanting to share that experience with everyone.
All right. So you probably want to, what I'm hearing you say is you probably want to go through some what's the word I'm looking for? It's not legitimate. That's not the word I'm looking for. There's some, some photographers, some local photographers who do a lot of work, and they will probably know some reputable, that is the word I was looking for, some reputable photographers in the market or in the closest big city, because typically, there's more artsy people in bigger cities or there's a higher concentration of them anyway than in rural areas. And they might know some reputable models who aren't going to, kill you or something like that if you put it on Craigslist. So, okay. So what do you think is the most important, just generally most important area of a house to make sure that you showcase really well in order to maximize bookings?
Management Monday is proud to present this episode of the Short Term Show. Management Monday is a weekly course that will teach you everything you need to know about managing a short-term rental from a distance. How to get more bookings, higher ADR, how to hire and fire vendors. Even if you don't want to manage it yourself, you need this course so you know how to manage your manager. Over 10,000 superhosts started their career with Management Monday. And the best part is, it's free for short-term shop clients. Start your journey today at theshorttermshop.com. Theshorttermshop.com.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content of our podcast, but you have additional short-term rental questions, we host a weekly live question session that you guys can join for free. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. And if you head over to strquestions.com, you can sign up. So not only am I the host of this show, but I also own and manage my own properties, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about short-term rental investing. So please join us anytime for a free weekly live Q&A on Zoom. Sign up at strquestions.com.
I think every house is different. And so I think showcasing certain homes have highlighted features. Obviously, if you can find that best angle, like the hot tub that looks at the mountain, is making sure that you have a shot of that. But the main thing is providing context and spatial awareness. I think for me as a content creator and a photographer and a storyteller, I think being able to understand the spatial awareness, even if I've never been there, provides so much intrigue for that. And so I think one side, if you do have, and not every home I understand has a hot tub looking at the mountain. So I'm just giving this one outlier example and then speaking towards, I think another element is the kitchen, is showcasing that and how that space works. Usually people like to get away and cook and have a nice little cooking space and to dine and to hang out. And so I think those are usually where we see the most kind of like photo aesthetics and lifestyle content being taken place, is like the lounging areas, the kitchen, and any outdoor view experience are kind of the three pillars.
Gotcha. Okay. Living space, kitchen, outdoor view experience. That makes sense, because kitchens are like the main thing. Kitchens and bathrooms too, but mainly kitchens are the main thing that's like, oh, this is luxury. You're like, this is really nice. When you see a really nice kitchen, you're like, oh yeah, this is a nice house.
Yeah, because it's a tough balance sometimes, because I've stayed at some really nice places that have beautiful bathrooms and it has this like amazing shower and all of that. And it's like hard to sometimes like make a photo that isn't then like teetering that line of like inappropriate, like, you got to find the way to showcase the beautiful shower, the bathroom in a way that comes across artsy or tasteful or anything along those lines. So I do understand sometimes the issue and wanting to showcase that. And usually that doesn't always provide lifestyle photos in the bathroom unless it's like a huge mirror or setup like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's a lot cheaper to update bathrooms than it is to update a kitchen, because typically bathrooms are such smaller square footage. And it's, at least in my experience, I've updated a few kitchens and a few bathrooms. And since bathrooms are much smaller space, it's easier to do and it looks great in photos. But if the kitchen isn't done too, then it kind of doesn't matter. It's gotta be both, in my opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'd assume that you're just dealing with like water pipes versus like gas lines and air vents and all that kind of stuff with kitchens and all that.
Yeah. So, well, let's switch gears a little bit and
Mhm.
talk about Stayamo. So, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who are like, "Man, this sounds cool, but like I don't really know how to get started. I don't really know how to find these people that I need to do this." So, tell us
Mhm.
about what Stayamo does.
So Stiamo is a marketplace, like I said earlier, that is connecting your homes, vacation homes, boutique hotels with content creators. And so it is an application process that not everyone that is trying to be a creator is a creator that gets just like blindly approved. We go through and it's a very like thorough process to make sure that it's a wide range, that we have people with like 1,500 followers, and then we have people with millions of followers. And so depending on what you're searching for and what you're trying to create and connect with, we hopefully have a creator for you that does that and is close enough to your property that there's an ability to that, or that you're a travel destination that they are planning a trip later that summer, winter, fall, however that kind of works. And so what it is that you post your listing that is grabbed from Airbnb or whatever booking site that you choose through, and gets populated on our website, and that you can filter through by location of depending on where your property is listed, or you are at the top of the list once you come on, because that is the most intrigue, and we are trying to get as many connections and collaborations as possible. And so the active creators can see your property and reach out and request collaborations with you, looking at your availability of dates and all of that. So we are trying to be as best of a melting pot marketplace connector as possible.
Okay, so these are not just necessarily photographers that use this, but maybe like influencers who want to have a cool background to do some content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's that variance, and it goes back to the strategy that I was talking about. Is that there's real great value of working with someone who has 1,500 followers, 5,000 followers, who takes beautiful photos, and they just can't seem to crack the Instagram algorithm, but they are willing to want to build their portfolio, want to work in this space a little bit more. And we encourage them so much to do that, understanding that usually property owners have multiple properties or are expecting to expand on that. So building that relationship and the value of the exchange is really important. And also talking to the properties of being like, hey, if you have a free Tuesday through Thursday in your calendar, have someone come in there and create some like marketing assets for you to bolster your listings and bookings. And so there's this exchange that is taking place in this buildup of building everyone's portfolios and working together and building relationships. And the world is way more connected than we realize. And like you were saying, as well, as like you can get connected to someone else along the lines, whether it's a photographer or property owner, depending on experiences and what everyone's seeking.
Okay, so this could be any sort of person in a media or freelance position. So, maybe it's a copywriter who wants to work on some things and they want to come visit your property so they can maybe write some copy for your listing, or a drone photographer who wants to, make some videos and things like that and give those to you to use. So really, like, all kinds of people are using this to be connected. So how does money change hands, and towards whom in this scenario? So if I could see it working both ways, like, are you renting my property, or am I paying someone like a photographer, for example, to do some twilight photos or something like that? How does the money exchange work?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And usually what we've seen kind of take place is that if a creator is reaching out to you, they're more than likely inclined to do it for a free exchange, or even be willing to, like, depending on the size of the property, like cover the cleaning fee and that. And if you're reaching out if the property is reaching out to the creator, there is a high likelihood that you need to, if they weren't planning on coming, or it's a little, or depending on where they're located, you might need to provide them with a budget to cover travel costs or do anything along those lines. How we initially started the business was a free exchange of, for the nights and even the cleaning fee, you get a handful of photos, posts, and the exposure that kind of goes with it, and this Rolodex of content that you can then slowly distribute through your channels. And through that, there's been evolutions of, depending on how big someone's portfolio is and the value that can impact the property as well as the creator. If the creator is looking to do this big trip and stay at a bunch of homes and you're along the way, or however that kind of goes. So there is definitely it definitely goes two ways. And depending on if you have a budget, if you want to use a budget, there are larger creators or that you can work with, or bigger groups. And if you are wanting to work with someone who potentially is a free exchange and understanding that, we have that kind of tier of creator as well. So it all kind of depends on their experience and the timing of the opportunity, like I was saying, of them reaching out or you reaching out to them, and the closeness to, or proximity, I should say, to the property.
Okay. And is this available everywhere, or is it only in select cities at the moment?
Yeah, so we are worldwide, and yeah, we're really excited about it and trying to bring on more properties, because we have a lot of creators that are wanting to create more and travel more. And so obviously we need to generate the demand or the supply, I should say, for that demand.
Okay, awesome. So we're kind of winding down, coming to the end of our time here, but is there anything that I haven't asked you, that we haven't touched on, that you think our listeners would benefit from hearing about?
Yeah, I think being patient with it and wanting to create lifestyle photos is really important. I think getting over excited of potentially working with a larger creator might not create the ROI that you're necessarily working with if your photos and your listings don't match what that creator's audience or their style of photography. An example that I always talk about is that we had a very large, like 2 million follower on Instagram, go to this cabin with his group of friends that are also smaller creators. Huge rush of traffic to their page, and however their pages were like photos of their dog and like you said, feet photo, like the photos just didn't create that same aesthetic or understanding, and so the retention of that audience wasn't able to be built because of that. And so there's value of working with smaller creators for free at a very low budget, who are willing to cover cleaning fees or just a free exchange on that. And so be willing to communicate and ask questions with them and build the relationship. And if something doesn't feel right, like if just in any relationship, in business, in personal, whatever, like if there feels like there's red flags, then pass on the experience and find the right one that you feel most comfortable with. But I think another thing too is that creating a establishment of a potentially having them put a down payment on a cleaning fee or something that you will then pay them back once that you receive the deliverables if you've never worked with them before. So having them book through the listing site or whatever you want to do, so that there's insurance or that there's some sort of thing that holds them accountable to get your deliverables back. We haven't really seen any major issues along those lines, but homes and properties, first time working with creators, always like to have a little bit more insurance and understanding, and we get that. We understand that concern. So those are just some things to think about when working with creators or photographers when you're first starting to do it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we are coming to the last 3 questions of our show.
Ooh, okay.
We ask these questions to every single person who comes on. So first question, what advice would you give 20-year-old Jordan?
I don't know if we have enough time for that. I think believe in yourself. Take the risks, stand up for yourself, and stop overthinking.
Very great advice. Second question, what advice do you have for a new short-term rental investor who's maybe thinking of getting into this space today? So someone who's just getting started today.
I too am looking into that space, so I totally understand that thinking. I think just once again, like I was saying, trust your gut. If there's red flags, like believe that, and do your due diligence to do your research, get a second opinion. But but at the same time, take the leap when it feels right.
All right. Also great advice. And last question, a little more fun. What is your favorite book that's impacted your mindset?
Ooh, I'm going to say Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh,
I think, I read that book probably once a year. And I just think it's so inspiring to understand creativity and the flow, and understanding relationship with yourself and your work ethic and your creativity.
I have not heard that one before, so I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, please do.
All right, Jordan. So if our listeners want to follow you, learn more about you or the company, where can they do that?
So all of my handles are at Jordan Kahana, and the company is at Stayamo, Stayamo.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jordan. We really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you. I had a great time.